Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this final press conference of the Commonwealth Summit. My name is Neil Ford. I'm the Director of Communications at the Commonwealth, and I'll be moderating this press conference. You should have a lot of information on the seats of your chairs when you came in. The Commonwealth is issuing 5 press releases today, plus the communique, so it's all there for you to read. It's also all online on the Commonwealth's website, and we've emailed it to all CHOGM accredited journalists. We've got a fabulous turnout of heads of government to tell us how the week has gone. To my immediate right is Theresa May, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. To her right is Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of the Commonwealth. And next to her is the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo. Next to the President of Ghana is Keith Mitchell. He's the Prime Minister of Grenada. And finally, the Honorable Tuli Laepa, the Prime Minister of Samoa. So if there's one thing I think we can all agree on is what a fabulous host the UK government turned out to be. So to start the press conference off, I'd like to ask Theresa May, the Prime Minister of the UK, to give her remarks. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. This week we have demonstrated that the Commonwealth is united not only by a common history, but by a common future. A future in which we work together for the benefit of all our citizens and for the wider world. For when many of the greatest challenges we face are global in nature, the breadth of the Commonwealth, spanning 6 continents and 1/3 of the world's population, offers a unique perspective in helping to forge the global solutions we need. No other organisation has our geographical and cultural diversity, while giving all nations an equal role, an equal voice, and an equal standing. And this week we have come together to reach a series of shared commitments that will help to build a more secure, more sustainable, more prosperous and fairer future for all. This is the first time that security has been a central theme of our leaders' meeting, and we have shown our resolve to stand together in defence of the rules-based international system and in defiance of those who threaten us all by seeking to undermine it. Earlier this month, the Assad regime violated international rules in the most egregious way by using chemical weapons in an indiscriminate and barbaric attack on its own people. And while of a much lower order of magnitude, the use of a nerve agent on the streets of Salisbury here in the United Kingdom last month is part of a pattern of disregard for those same global norms that prohibit the use of chemical weapons. At this summit, the Commonwealth has shown that it will play its part in a renewed international effort to uphold the global norms that say these abhorrent weapons should never, ever be used. The communique we have agreed today expresses our unanimous opposition to the use of these weapons and our commitment to strengthen the effective implementation of the Chemical Weapons Convention. We must also update our shared international norms so they can protect us from new and emerging threats online. So we have secured the world's largest and most geographically diverse intergovernmental commitment on cyber security cooperation. The Commonwealth Cyber Declaration will help protect our people and businesses from ever more sophisticated digital threats and counter those who would abuse the freedom of the internet to undermine our values, our security, and even our democracies. When it comes to building a more sustainable future, there are few more authentic voices than the Commonwealth, with many island states severely affected by extreme weather events and the scourge of plastics polluting our oceans. Indeed, we are in London today because of the devastation wrought on Vanuatu by Cyclone Pam in 2015. So as a global leader in the fight against climate change, we are proud that every nation of the Commonwealth has now ratified the Paris Agreement. And every one of our nations is united behind its highest ambition of pursuing efforts to limit the increase in global average temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. At this summit, we have taken specific action to protect our oceans with the first ever Commonwealth Blue Charter. The UK and Vanuatu are working together to launch the Commonwealth Clean Oceans Alliance to tackle the scourge of plastic pollution. and we are already seeing a series of commitments that can mark a breakthrough in the battle to save our oceans. For instance, Papua New Guinea has banned plastic bags. Belize will ban plastic bags, forks, and other single-use items by 2019. New Zealand has announced a ban on microbeads, which will come into effect in June. The Bahamas is planning to ban plastic bags this year, and the UK has pledged to ban plastic straws, stirrers, and plastic-stemmed cotton buds. This is only the beginning of what will be a defining agenda for the United Kingdom's 2-year chair in office, and I'm pleased that Prime Minister Trudeau has indicated he will also make this a priority for the G7 in Canada this summer. A more sustainable future also means stepping up the fight for better global health. With over 90% of Commonwealth citizens living in malaria-affected countries, the Commonwealth has a particular duty to lead international efforts to tackle this deadly disease. So earlier this week, I called on Commonwealth leaders to pledge to halve malaria across the Commonwealth by 2023, and I'm pleased that this has been agreed today. In building a more prosperous future, this is the first Commonwealth Summit to make a unanimous statement on the need to fight protectionism. Our declaration on the Commonwealth Connectivity Agenda for Trade and Investment will help to expand investment and boost intra-Commonwealth trade to a value of $2 trillion by 2030. And we will play a leading role in shaping the future of global trade policy, using our unique perspective to help ensure that free and fair trade truly works for everyone. This includes stepping up efforts to share the technical expertise to enable small and developing states to benefit from the growth of free and fair trade. It means addressing systemic barriers to women's full and equal participation in the economy, including increasing opportunities for women to trade internationally and supporting the growth of more women-owned businesses. And it means investing in supporting our young people to gain new skills. And at this summit, we have pledged to ensure that all girls and boys across the Commonwealth will be able to access at least 12 years of quality education and learning by 2030. Finally, we have reaffirmed our commitment to a fairer future in which everyone is free to live their life and fulfil their potential. We agreed the critical importance of the full social, economic and political participation of all our citizens for democracy and sustainable development to thrive. I've been clear that nobody should face persecution or discrimination because of who they are or who they love, and the United Kingdom stands ready to support any Commonwealth member wanting to reform outdated legislation that permits discrimination, including against same-sex relations. We will continue to protect and advance our core values of democracy, good governance, and human rights at the heart of fairer societies. And we welcomed the return of the Gambia to our family of nations. This week has also given me the opportunity to hold a series of important meetings with Commonwealth leaders. On Tuesday, I met with Caribbean leaders, where I gave an absolute commitment that the UK government will do whatever it takes, including where appropriate payment of compensation, to resolve the anxieties and problems which some of the Windrush generation have suffered. These people are British, they are part of us, they helped to build Britain, and we are all the stronger for their contributions. This week began with the most inspiring gathering of young leaders from across our 53 nations, and it is with those young leaders where the future of our Commonwealth lies. So we were delighted to welcome the appointment of His Royal Highness Prince Harry as the Commonwealth Youth Ambassador. Looking to that future, we have also reached an important longer-term agreement about the role of the head of the Commonwealth. When Her Majesty the Queen assumed the throne, the Commonwealth had just 8 members. Today, it has 53. We meet here today in no small measure because of the vision, duty, and steadfast service of Her Majesty in nurturing the growth of this remarkable family of nations. And on behalf of all our citizens, I want to express the depth of our gratitude for everything that Her Majesty has done and will continue to do. Today, we have agreed that the next head of the Commonwealth shall be His Royal Highness Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales. His Royal Highness has been a proud supporter of the Commonwealth for more than 4 decades and has spoken passionately about the organisation's unique diversity. And it is fitting that one day he will continue the work of his mother, Her Majesty the Queen. As we begin the UK's 2-year chair in office, I look forward to working with all our Commonwealth partners in fulfilling the commitments we have made and preparing for the next meeting, which we have today agreed will be held in Rwanda in 2020. I began this week by saying that for the Commonwealth to endure, we must demonstrate our relevance and purpose anew. Today, I believe we have done that. Our Blue Charter, our Cyber Declaration, our commitments to uphold the rules-based international order, to fight protectionism, to defeat malaria, and to invest in education for all our young people. In all these ways and more, the Commonwealth has found its voice, and we can look forward to a bright future with confidence.
Thank you, Prime Minister. And just a reminder, press releases and all the initiatives that she mentioned should be on your seats. Our next speaker is our Secretary General, Patricia Scotland. Secretary General.
Thank you. It's a great honour and privilege for me as Secretary General of the Commonwealth, appointed to act for and on behalf of the 53 member states in our Commonwealth and to head the Secretariat. And I want to take this opportunity to give wholehearted thanks to the stewardship of the United Kingdom and its government, and particularly I want to thank Prime Minister Theresa May for her sterling chairmanship of the whole of this week. I want also to thank each and every one of the heads, not just those here present, for contributing and showing such utter commitment to the Commonwealth and its belief in its utility. The heads committed to strengthen the Secretariat, including to ensuring financial sustainability. The Secretariat is here to facilitate, to assist, to collaborate the work that is undertaken on behalf of the 53 countries. And it was of extraordinary value to watch the Commonwealth 53 members work together with such determination to address matters of such importance, not just to the Commonwealth, but also to the world. As you've heard from Prime Minister May, leaders agreed on a bold, coordinated push to protect the ocean from the effects of climate change, pollution, and overfishing. Their landmark decision to adopt a Commonwealth Blue Charter will affect 1/3 of the world's national coastal waters, helping to sustain livelihoods and ecosystems globally. The Commonwealth Blue Charter is underpinned by the Charter of the Commonwealth, ensuring that a fair, equitable, inclusive, and sustainable approach is taken to ocean development and protection. It follows overwhelming support by member countries at the UN Ocean Conference in New York last year, when I proposed a collaborative Commonwealth approach to action on ocean governance and conservation. Countries stepped forward during CHOGM to lead on priority areas of action, and all of them have made an extraordinary difference. And further action groups are likely to focus on topics such as maritime security, offshore emergency, response, and aquaculture. The goals of the action groups are to cross-promote shared technical, scientific, and policy solutions to effect broader implementation and change. And the Commonwealth Blue Charter mandates the Commonwealth Secretariat to facilitate a coordinated and collaborative programme of work. And added to that, we have reached out to all other partners. And I'm pleased to say that the Commonwealth today announced the signing of a multi-year agreement with Bloomberg Philanthropies to collaborate on areas of common interest by leveraging respective resources and networks. Together, we will explore a number of mutually supportive joint initiatives to aid international trade, innovation, and sustainability. Strengthening the resilience of small and vulnerable states to the impacts of natural disasters caused or exacerbated by climate change by participating in the risk assessment and potential damage assessment of Commonwealth countries and assisting with recovery and building back better. There are 31 small states in our 53 member state family. And the Caribbean next month will face the next hurricane season. It is literally now only 40 days away, and the Pacific will have their storm season less than a month away. So we will be collecting, analysing, sharing data on commercial fishing and providing support to improve governance of fisheries and monitoring of marine protected areas. Working with the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group, we will work together to reduce pollution and building the climate change resilience of Commonwealth cities. But we're also going to be supporting more inclusive economic growth and sustainable development programs to enable increased international trade, employment, and business growth, while promoting the sustainable development of natural resources and developing improved climate finance frameworks. And all of that, we're going to collaborate on the development of the Commonwealth Innovation Hub, which was launched on Monday, together with the Office of Civil and Criminal Justice Reform. The heads asked for action, concrete action on the ground, which will have the impact which is needed to change the lives of our 2.4 billion people within our Commonwealth. And it was the most extraordinary CHOGM, and I thank wholeheartedly all the heads, but particularly Her Majesty's government and Her Majesty, who opened her home to all of her family and welcomed us all in. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General. We now have a perspective from Africa. The President of Ghana is with us, the Honorable Akufo-Addo. Mr. President, feel free to speak from the table if you prefer, or take the podium as you choose.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, Secretary General, I think, as you all know, Ghana has been a very long-standing and active member of the Commonwealth since our freedom from British colonial rule 61 years ago. And that is why I'm here, and my first as president. I'm very happy I came, largely because it enabled me to participate in a very wide-ranging discussion over many of the important issues of our time, all of which have been very clearly articulated both by the Prime Minister and the Secretary General. Our particular concern was the continuing relevance of the Commonwealth. The continuing relevance of the Commonwealth to the extent that it would address the aspirations of the young people of the Commonwealth. They constitute some 60% of the population of the Commonwealth. And if the Commonwealth continues to be relevant, it is because it is able to address their key concerns. Concerns about education, skills development, concerns about jobs, and about a climate of freedom and democratic values that is also a very extremely important part of the linkages of us here in the Commonwealth. It's been very fruitful, and I believe that the catalogue of decisions that were made, that have been set out, are ones that Ghana wholeheartedly subscribes to. I have to express our great gratitude to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, as well as the British government led by Prime Minister May and the Secretariat led by Baroness Scotland for the excellent arrangements that we had and had the opportunity to visit these great monuments of British civilization, Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, etc. And it provided an exceptionally conducive background for the discussions that we have had. We're very satisfied that the Commonwealth continues to be a relevant organization, and that this consensus that is built from a variety of countries from all the different parts of the world is an important contribution that the Commonwealth makes to global development and growth. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the Caribbean, we have Prime Minister Keith Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell is the President of Grenada. I'd like to give him the floor now.
I haven't achieved the status of president yet. I'm still prime minister. Friends, let me say this. I attended my first CHOGM meeting in 1997. And throughout the several meetings I've attended, I consider this CHOGM as the most productive one that I've had the opportunity to be part of. And I think to some extent, and to a large extent, there's a lot to do with the leadership and of course, the conduct of the meeting by the distinguished Prime Minister of Britain, who led us through the last few days. I also need to make the point that this has been the largest group of heads at any CHOGM meeting that I have attended. So to some extent, I'm extremely pleased to be part of this. And as the Prime Minister of Grenada, part of the Caribbean family, witnessing the level of disaster that's took place in our region over the last year. In my own country in 2004, where we lost 200% of GDP, Dominica, 2.5%, 205% of GDP in one stroke of a pen, tells you the problems that we are facing. So the discussion that took place at this particular CHOGM on dealing with resilience, climate resilience and disaster is certainly something I believe that the Caribbean would see as excellent music, because we believe that we have had enough of the problems over the years, suffering with climate change when we are not really the real reason behind the problems that we have seen. So I also want to make the point, Prime Minister, that the leadership that you have shown on the issue of development of the youth of the region, 60% of the population of our Commonwealth, of people under 35, it seems to me that unless we take the concrete step that we took today and implement them, that we'll have continuous problems in the Commonwealth with our young people, particularly our male. I made the point when it was pointed out that Charles would likely be the head of the Commonwealth. And when asked about whether it was a positive mood, I thought maybe yes, in the sense that our young men need more role models. Where school systems are headed by female. The family unit, as you know it in the Caribbean region, I'm sure worldwide, females are heading most of these institutions. So it seems to me more and more we can have leaders in Charles and people like that to help to deal with those problems. I think we'll be heading in the right direction. So I want to see this. I'm particularly pleased to attend this CHOGM meeting and to be part of what I consider a very special meeting that we have had. And therefore, I want to thank Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth for her leadership over the last several years. I remember Her Majesty coming to Grenada in 1985 after our revolutionary period ended, and re-establishing the parliamentary democratic system in our country and leading the first parliament session. I will never forget this. I was just an ordinary member of parliament at that particular time. And Prime Minister, thank you for your leadership. I look forward to the next 2 years for your stewardship. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Finally, from the Pacific region, we have the Honorable Tuila Epa. He is the Prime Minister of Samoa.
Thank you. It is now exactly 9 minutes past 6 in the morning of Saturday morning in my country. So good morning and good evening. In any press conference that I have in my country, and I have 6, that's already a crowd. Never before have I seen so many. Out of this CHOGM, the Pacific members welcome the renewed interest in and commitment to the Commonwealth, its values and principles. As well, we welcome the focus of the Commonwealth family to acknowledge the most vulnerable of its members, in particular, the impacts of climate change on our small island developing states. We do acknowledge the hard work and collaboration that has gone into the development of important tools and policy platforms for a more secure, fairer, more prosperous and sustainable future for the Commonwealth family and citizenry. We appreciate very much the opportunities to host the 2019 Global Biannual Meeting, as well as the 2022 CHOGM in the Pacific in Samoa. I look forward to seeing you all in Apia. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We do have about 10 or 15 minutes for questions. And here's how the question should go. Please wait for the microphone, first of all, after you've been acknowledged. Tell us who you are, who your media outlet is, and who you're addressing your question to. If you ask everybody to answer, we're only going to have time for 1 or 2 questions, so please tell us which head of government you'd like to answer. The gentleman with the blue and green striped shirt, please.
My name is Horatio Segua. I write for the Bridge News. I'm from Nigeria. I've been bothered about the issue of free movement within the Commonwealth nations. I've grown, this is my 3rd meeting I'm attending as a journalist, and I've continually asked this question. And nobody has been able to give me specific answer. As member countries, do you have plans for free movement? We talk about free trade, we talk about free businesses and others. What about free movement in terms of visa waiver and some other things that happens like in the EU? My question is to the Secretary General.
Well, I thank you for that question, but one of the joys of being Secretary General is that I'm not actually a head of state, and therefore I would very much like to pass the question to one of those who have the ability to make that determination. I am their servant.
In the front row over here, please.
Hi, Aditi from the Press Trust of India. Since South Asia seems to be missing from the podium, I would just request the Prime Minister to say a few lines in terms of her bilaterals and the CHOGM deliberations with India, and also a quick remark on the anguish that the Indian government has expressed on its flag being pulled down at Parliament Square on Wednesday.
Thank you. Well, certainly. I mean, one of the delights of CHOGM when bringing the 53 members together is that many bilaterals will have taken place over the course of the last week. I myself have had bilaterals with both Pakistan and India, and also had an opportunity to speak with Sheikh Hasina from Bangladesh. And we ranged over a number of issues that are affecting those various countries. I think if we look at the decisions that have been taken by CHOGM, we will see that these are decisions that will be significant and important for every member of the Commonwealth, whichever part of the world they come from. Certainly, one of the issues that I have particularly been discussing with member states is the issue of trade and how we can ensure that we are encouraging intra-Commonwealth trade, which will be of benefit to countries large and small within the Commonwealth. I think this is a message that has been very well received, and indeed the collective agreement that we have agreed on trade and investment among the Commonwealth nations. And if you look at the communiqué, you will see that we have been talking about how we can remove barriers that increase trade between the members of the Commonwealth. That's important for our shared prosperity. It's also important for a fairer future for all in ensuring that we're providing the jobs for that 60% of the Commonwealth who are young people, as Prime Minister Mitchell has referred to.
The gentleman in the second row at the end.
Thank you very much. Chris Ship from ITV. A lot's been said this week about the Commonwealth being a very democratic and a very diverse organisation. The point has been made, and I'm sure you will acknowledge it, it's not very democratic nor very diverse when the unelected head of one state asked the leaders to appoint her son as the next head. Can you just address that point? Perhaps I should address that to the presidents and prime ministers in front of me here. And tell me about the discussion you had today. Was it unanimous? Did all 53 agree? Were there any dissenting voices?
And specifically, who would you like to answer?
Mr. President, please.
Well, you've seen the communique. I hope you've seen the communique. If not, it says it very clearly that this was the decision of the meeting. And you have to assume that there was a strong consensus that made it possible for that decision to be made.
Yes, the lady with the hat here, please.
Thank you. My name is Bumi. I'm a reporter with Africa Today magazine. The Commonwealth is not short of themes and projects. This time around, you have Innovation Hub, you will have you have Innovation Hub, and then you have the Blue Charter. You always come up with all these big headlines. The problem is action. There is little or no action after today. How are you going to make sure that come Rwanda, you will have a report card for us to say, this is what I have achieved, or this is what we have achieved? There's no continuity. Is there any way we can follow up and make sure that this Blue Charter and this Innovation Hub takes place and lasts and stays sustainable? This is to the Secretary General and the Prime Minister May.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that was being pushed very hard by the members of the Commonwealth, that we wanted to have real action on the ground and make a difference. So therefore, if you look at our Blue Charter, there is a high level of specificity. There's firstly the commitments that all the member states had. Then there is a list of each country's commitments. And so you will see, backed up to that charter, commitments made by a number of countries. Now, I just want to remind you of some of them. Australia, Belize, and Mauritius will spearhead the protection and restoration of coral reefs. Fiji will champion climate change action for the oceans, including blue carbon sequestration by coastal vegetation and the development of resilient, low-carbon coastal cities. The UK and Vanuatu, as you've already heard, will lead on tackling ocean plastics, supported by the UK's 60 million commitment to a Commonwealth Clean Ocean Alliance. Sri Lanka will initiate collaboration on mangrove restoration. Cyprus will offer its experience and expertise on the sustainable development of aquaculture, and Kenya will pioneer the development of the blue economic growth. Now, that's just the beginning. But that is why, if you look at the Blue Charter, it specifically mandates the Commonwealth Secretariat to facilitate a coordination and collaborative programme of work. And what we hope to be able to do is to create these action teams, but also look specifically to how we're going to fund the facilitation work that needs to be done in order to make that collaboration real. So we're absolutely focused. And if I can just say that the whole point of creating the Innovation Hub is to create a one-stop shop. People have said for years that they have the Commonwealth in their heart. Now they're going to be able to have it in the palm of their hand. One click away, all the information, the connectivity, you'll be able to find out what everybody else is doing, we'll be able to partner. And the Office of Civil and Criminal Justice Reform is really important because it will be the fulcrum of knowledge in terms of the rule of law. If you go on that site, you will see that we have all the laws of the 53 countries, but also the guidelines, the frameworks, and the opportunities. There are two huge things that have happened. One is the WTO Facilitation Agreement. 49 of the 53 member states of the Commonwealth are members of the WTO, and 42 have signed the WTO Facilitation Agreement. And in Kigali, about 3 weeks ago, the African Union, 44 members of the African Union, committed themselves to creating a new continental free trade area. And with the opportunities we now have, we're going to create similar instruments to enable interoperability and mirrored procedures to take place. So we are robust in our belief. If you look at the assessment made by the Trade Review 2018, published by the Secretariat, that we are on track, potentially, to getting to that 1 trillion Commonwealth trade. And that is concrete action which we are going to continually update. And one of the great things you'll be able to do is to go on to the Innovation Hub, and you will be able to monitor and track how well we're doing in real time. I think that's not bad.
The very determined lady in the third row, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Roya Nikar from the Sunday Times. My question is for Prime Minister May. Can you tell me, during this week's summit and at today's meeting, at any point, did any member states express the view that someone other than the Prince of Wales could be the next head of the Commonwealth?
No, the view was unanimous that Prince Charles should be the next head of the Commonwealth. And can I just say in response, because the lady asked the question, previous lady asked the question to me, as well as to the Secretary-General. Secretary-General has given you a very full answer. But as the UK, as chair in office over the next 2 years, will also have a role to play together with the Secretariat to ensure that we are following up on the commitments that have been made. And there are specific commitments. The Secretary-General has set out a number on plastics. There's specific commitments in the Cyber Declaration for us to work together and provide support. But this is also about how the members of the Commonwealth work with each other. So the UK and Singapore, for example, will be working together in providing support on cybersecurity. So there will be some very real, concrete actions coming out of that. That was the unanimous view of the 53 heads, that there should be concrete action, and that's what we're going to deliver.
We've got to wrap soon. We'll just take 2 more questions. This gentleman, please, in the 4th row.
My question is to Prime Minister May.
Please, can you tell us who you are and who you're reporting for, please?
My name is Akhilesh Suman from Rajya Sabha Television in Delhi, India. Prime Minister, you had referred about international rule-based system. what does it mean? Do you signal towards situation in South China Sea and Asia Pacific? Can you elaborate on this? What does it mean? It's very vague.
Well, the international rules-based order is something that covers a variety of areas. One area that I referred to specifically in my remarks is the international norm on the prohibition on the use of chemical weapons, obviously expressed through the Chemical Weapons Convention. And there was a view, as you will see from the communiqué, that around the table, around the 53 heads, that we need to re-establish that international norm that prohibits the use of chemical weapons. We have seen this being, the use of chemical weapons being undertaken, as I've referenced in my statement, in a number of ways, and there was a view around the 53 heads that we needed to ensure that we were re-establishing that international norm on the prohibition of the use of chemical weapons. But there are other international rules-based orders. The UN Law of the Sea, for example, is an important area, and we all recognise we recognise the need to support free trade and to resist protectionism. So it follows in a number of areas. What we are saying is that collectively the voice of the Commonwealth is very clear about the need to continue to support international norms and international rules-based order.
You know, if there's a reporter from the Pacific or from Africa, I would love it if they would take a question, ask a question. Yes, please.
My name is Efia Pokuam, and I'm from Multimedia Group in Ghana. Now, I wanted to ask something specifically for Africa. You spoke about, Secretary General, about the Kigali agreement, but particularly from our President, Nana Akufo-Addo, has a vision for Ghana, which is Africa beyond aid, but particularly for Ghana beyond aid. I want to understand the Commonwealth, from where I come from in Ghana and the rest of Africa. If you ask a lot of the young people what the benefit of Commonwealth has been, a lot of them would not know, and they would not appreciate what the benefits of the Commonwealth Association has been. So what is your plan beyond the Kigali Agreement? What is your plan to develop Africa, to help Africa come to the level of developed countries where we will indeed be beyond aid, like our president has envisaged? Thank you.
Well, the first thing to say is that because 60% of our Commonwealth is under the age of 30, we are absolutely devoting our time to make sure that we help to energize and support that 60%. Leaders right the way across the Commonwealth were talking about the need to empower young people, the need to make sure that we address their education needs, the opportunities that come from digitalization, and the importance of making sure that they participate in the leadership. And if you will look at what we've done in the Commonwealth with the Commonwealth Youth Programme, we had more than 500 young leaders come to the Youth Forum this week, and they went through their own election. We have a great opportunity now with Prince Harry being appointed by Her Majesty to be the Youth Ambassador, but much more importantly, we've been looking at what works. So we've created a whole series of implementation toolkits because we've listened to what our members have said, and they've said it's all very well coming up with policies, but what about how we change those on the ground? Because if there's no implementation, there will be no difference. But the difference of the way in which the Commonwealth works is we include young people and young leaders in the decision-making process. And if you go into our Innovation Hub, if you look at what we've got online, you will see that there's a plethora of networks that we've created. And the young people were our inspiration during this week, and they inspired every single leader. In fact, we think that they're going to give us a real run for our money. And I'd like to pass the issue back to the president of Ghana, who I think could speak much more eloquently than I can about any of these issues.
But just to make the basic fundamental point, the vision we have for Ghana is not for other people to come and develop Ghana for us. It is for us to develop Ghana ourselves. But when you belong to an organization like this, opportunities arise, which, if you like, facilitate that process. And I think that is really what we've been talking about, what you need to do to bring down barriers to trade, what you need to be able to do where collectively you can deal with matters to do with climate change, the degradation of the environment, what you need to do to address issues of terrorism, especially, as you're well aware, in West Africa and the Sahelian region, which is now a whole area of terrorist activities. What together, members of an organization which share important linkages, we can do to address those matters. But the fundamental issues of development, the vision that I'm subscribed to, my government is subscribing to, is one which says that that is our particular lift. We have to be responsible for that and not look at other people to come and do that for us. I hope that that is sufficiently clear by way of an answer. The responsibility is not on the Commonwealth to develop Ghana or to develop Africa. What our membership of the Commonwealth does is to help us, if you like, clear the way for the process of development, but not to be the ones to be responsible for our development.
You know, it's wonderful to see all this interest in the Commonwealth and the outcomes of the summit, and I hope you're all going to stay in close contact with the Commonwealth over the coming months. But I've kept the head table 10 minutes over the allotted time, and I'd like to thank them for their patience and for participating in our final press conference. I'm sorry that's all the time we have, and I have to draw the press conference to a close. Thank you.